Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Spectrum podcast. I am Jason Romano. Thanks for joining us today on the show. As always, you can check us out on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are found. Even our YouTube channel has every single podcast, and all of our content can be found at sportspectrum.com. And we want to just alert you, I guess, a little bit to our magazine. We've talked about it quite a bit. It's the pillar of what this ministry was founded on, the Sports Spectrum magazine. It's $18 for an entire year. It gets you quarterly issues 4 times a year, plus a couple bonus issues. $18. What a deal. And the magazine is really great. Right now, Adam Wainwright is on the cover, a story on the St. Louis Cardinals and his effect in the clubhouse with regards to mentoring and being a spiritual leader in the St. Louis Cardinals clubhouse, Adam Wainwright. So really good stuff there. Check it out. You can order today at sportspectrum.com. Today in the podcast, we welcome back Hugh Freeze, a longtime football coach, former Ole Miss coach and Arkansas State head coach, and now the head coach at Liberty. Named the head coach December 7th, 2018. He's their 9th coach in the history of the Liberty Flames football program. And he's been a part of many successful teams, winning a lot of games and doing a lot of good things on the field with regards to the football teams he has coached. He left Ole Miss with a bit of a sour taste. He resigned from his position amid an NCAA investigation and evidence of personal misconduct. And we've had Coach Freeze on the podcast now a couple times, and you can go back and listen to those if you want to hear how we discuss some of the things that he's walked through and been through in his past, specifically with Ole Miss and moving forward with that. Really, the interview we did about a year ago in the summer of 2018 dove a lot into forgiveness and second chances and opportunities and just moving forward when we make mistakes in life, and how the God of the universe that sent his son to forgive us of our sins every day allows us to continue to walk forward with him. And we welcome back Hugh Freeze now, the Liberty head football coach. What life is like now for Coach Freeze as the Liberty coach, how he came to get the job, what he's learned just in a couple months on taking over this position. And then we want to talk about an opportunity that he's a part of with a bunch of other really big name people in the sports space for Gameday 2019, coming Saturday, March 30th to churches across the country. So stay tuned, listen to that, and enjoy our conversation with Hugh Freeze from Liberty as the head football coach, joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Hugh, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jason, for having me on again.
Yeah, welcome back. And last time we spoke, it was the summer of 2018. You told us on the podcast, if I recall, that you were hoping for the right opportunity to come your way to return as a head coach. December 7th, 2018 appears that right opportunity opened up for you to come to Liberty University. Tell us about all that led up to making that decision and how it's been going with the Liberty University football team that you're now coaching.
Well, obviously, you know, being out of coaching for a couple of seasons was, you always just kind of wondered what was next. And certainly, you know, you miss it. And then I was fortunate enough to have Rick Neuheisel and the AAF give me an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator there, and was excited about that opportunity and really missed being around those guys. I got to go and install some offense with them in October and November, and but all the while being very honest with them and saying, you know, if the right college opportunity presented itself, it'd be hard for me to turn it down. And so that kind of started happening, you know, in December. With the first was offensive coordinator opportunities at different schools, and which really, Jason, was very, very attractive to me because I just could see myself getting back in and just trying to score points and handle the offense for a head coach somewhere, and maybe not have to worry about all the head coaching things that you have to do. And and kind of had my mind set on that because really no head coaching opportunities were presenting themselves. It was just all coordinator spots, which I was blessed to have those. And after about 3 visits with 3 different schools on that, and getting ready to make a decision, I get a call from here. Kind of almost just kind of blew it off and didn't, and Jill was with me at the time when I got the call, and we'd actually just landed from another visit from another school about an OC spot, and they just said, come and see and let us share the vision with you. And we did, and we're just blown away and felt the peace of God, and just felt like, you know what better place to kind of hit a restart button for your family and for coaching, and at a place that has a special people with a special mission, and then obviously imperfect people, but yet very open about their faith and grace, and so it's we felt like Jill felt strongly. I still was kind of back and forth on what was best, but I think some of that was pride probably, but Jill had an ultimate peace, and I've learned to lean on her in this, and so glad I did. It's been an awesome start. We got great administration, great vision, and great support. Now it's time to build it.
Did coming about a year ago or so, it may have been a little more than a year, coming to the convocation and you and Jill speaking and talking a lot very openly about some of the difficult things that you've walked through in the past, did coming to that kind of help open a door in many ways to this opportunity?
I think the people here would say yes. I think that was obviously part of this process for sure, and getting them to hear from Jill and I, and to get to know some of the people that were in decision making places here. I do have to believe that was part of this process that gave. I don't know that I get the first phone call from them when they have an opening, if not for that day. So I would say it played a big part in it.
What's it been like since you've arrived on campus? It's been a couple months now, almost over 3 months or so since you've been there. Just talking offline, he told me about spring ball taking place. So what's it been like these last few months? I got to imagine it's been a little bit of a whirlwind with recruiting and putting a staff together and all of that.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, you feel like you're drinking water out of a fire hose.
Sure.
That's kind of how it feels. Anytime I've taken over a program, particularly this one felt even worse, I guess because I'm either getting older or that mid-year signing period made it very, very difficult for you to come in. I haven't experienced that before, and that was difficult to try to manage. And then we got a little break at Christmas to be able to enjoy and have a little time to get settled and move. And we've got all of my girls here. My wife and 3 girls are all here, so that's a blessing. And now after recruiting, we jumped right into install and to getting ready for spring ball, and now we're on day 6. And so that's made I think anytime you transition, you did this from ESPN, and I'm sure you have second thoughts, or you debate, is this the right thing all the time?
Sure.
But when I get on the grass and in these meeting rooms, it feels right.
Liberty's obviously open about their faith. You mentioned that. We've talked and have Richie McKay on. We even had prior coaches on from Liberty, have covered many of their events. Certainly their faith in Jesus is something that we align with. Has it been different for you being a coach at a school like Liberty? It's only been a couple months, but just knowing about how open they are about your faith. You've never shied away from your faith wherever you've been, but now you're working at a school and for a school that basically shares those same values openly.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with that, but I really haven't changed anything that I've ever done. I've never tried to force things on anyone, but been very open about, the foundational core of who I am is based on faith in God through His Son Jesus Christ, and that certainly doesn't mean that I'm perfect, as everyone knows, but I am forgiven, and I want everyone to experience that forgiveness and that same grace and mercy that I've received. And so, but I haven't changed. Really, my approach to coaching a football team has always been centered in that fact, and hopefully my motives remain pure at all times for the ultimate scoreboard, not to be just what the score is at the end of a game, but really the impact you had on the people that were in your program. So I haven't, I'm very aware right now of abiding, daily in what the most important thing is, and trying to remind our staff of that. But I'm still as ornery and grumpy on the practice field probably and demanding as I've ever been.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned from coaching at Ole Miss or Arkansas State or wherever that you've been that you can bring with you at Liberty? What's the biggest lesson that you can take now that you said you were maybe a little bit older and a little wiser in some of the things that you've been through? What's the biggest lesson you can take with you now at Liberty?
Yeah, my whole deal right now, Jason, is motives. Mm-hmm. What is my motive, and is it pure? And I'm pretty set as to what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are, and I get all of that. But man, when you get out of kilter with what your motives truly are, I think you set yourself up for a lot of idols, and whether it's the idol of your name or the applause of men or many other things, the idol of status and time and all of that stuff. And now all of a sudden this you're very weak. And so for me, when I'm just always thinking, even in practice the other day, I stopped practice in the middle of it because I had like a 5-minute stretch where I felt like I was just being so negative. And man, I just stopped practicing and said, I was very transparent. I said, here's how I'm feeling right now. And I don't like the way I'm feeling. So I'm just very transparent now with probably more than ever about, what I'm feeling, but I want my motives to be pure. Yes, I want to win games. Good gosh, I'll never change. I'm made that way. God made me that way. But to deny yourself is to win. And so now I'm trying to just make sure that why am I doing what I'm doing, and how am I doing it the way I'm doing it, and is it the best way? And what are my motives for doing all those things? So that's probably my concentration on that is higher than it's ever been at the other stops.
Are you able to have, I know you've done this in the past, but have the sort of daily disciplines of Bible study and time in the Word with your staff? It's only been a few months, but being able to put that together with your team at Liberty?
Yeah, every single day. It's been incredible. I can't tell you how many of the staff have just said this is new for them, and they love it. And their wives have told my wife that it's been something that their husbands come home talking about. And I've started something new. We don't start staff until from 7 to 9 in the morning is everyone's personal time, because I want them to have there's no excuse in them walking in at 9 o'clock and not having had time, if they make it a priority, that they've had time for them to be in the Word and to journal and to pray. And so I think the way we start our day here is extremely important. And hopefully they're doing that individually and then corporately when we get together.
Coach, you're a public figure, obviously, and the critics continue to be out there. How have you, now that you are where you are now, especially at Liberty, I'm sure you heard from a lot of great people and positive things happening, but if you're on social media, you see the naysayers as well. What have you learned through this whole process on dealing with those type of kind of different responses you're getting on the negative side?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to have a conversation with every single one of them. I would. It's impossible, and I can't have the time, and certainly social media is not the place for me to do that. I've learned that, and even though I've had some really neat things happen to some that I have reached out to that took me up on it, and I've got a really good friend now that was one of probably my biggest critics, simply because he chose to come spend some time with me and get to know me. And I wish I could do that with every one of them, but you can't. But, I think it just comes back to, am I living for their applause or for the applause of the one who saved me? And I hope that they'll, again, I think if everyone were to look and say, how do his players feel about him? How does his family feel about him? And what has the consistency been in his life for a number of years? And would people want their worst moments played out on a big screen somewhere? Well, I don't wish that on anyone, and I pray blessings on even my critics. I really do, and hopefully I'll get to know them. Maybe they'll take time to come see us at Liberty.
I've heard it said too, Coach, that somebody said, and I might use this in a sermon I'm preaching at my church, that Christ will literally be the only one that takes a picture with you on your worst day. And you've been through some tough days. Would you agree with that?
I'll tell you, I've been so blessed. Not only would he, but man, I've had my wife and daughters and dearest friends just been incredible, never wavered, strong as can be, but there's no doubt that he's the rock.
Couple more questions here with Hugh Freeze, the Liberty head football coach. You have a unique opportunity, Coach, to reach a ton of people of faith in this project called Gameday 2019, and I know you're a part of it. It's a simulcast event taking place Saturday, March 30th. Some great names on this speaker list, from the Reverend Tony Evans to Tony Dungy and Bobby Bowden, even Ted DiBiase from the WWE. A bunch of these guys we've had on the podcast and all have great testimonies, and yourself. So tell us about the event a little bit and why you wanted to be a part of it.
Well, one of the guys that's in charge of, I guess, the organizers of it, I actually coached his son in high school, and when he reached out to us, this was before I accepted the Liberty job, and that's what Jill and I were doing at the time, was a lot of speaking, and so this made sense. It aligned with who we are and what our core values are and what we enjoy talking about, and so it was an easy invitation to accept. And now that I've taken this job, it's changed a little bit. So we're going to have to do ours from here in the studio because we have our spring game that day. So I can't be in attendance, but we are still going to fulfill our obligation to do our part in whatever they have for us to do with it, because we believe in the mission of it, and that's to try to inspire men that are broken and are not sure how to balance everything that comes at them between family and marriage and kids and job and success and pursuing, success and all of those things that we battle with as men in our minds, and all of a sudden, they're staring at us in life, and we don't know always the next move to make. We just wanted to be a part of it because there's somewhere, some man will be there that our story relates to in some way, of perseverance and forgiveness and grace, and also talking. I think I'm going to spend another session of talking about just being driven and how to balance it in the eyes of faith, and so we're looking forward to sharing at that event.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and it's an opportunity for churches all across the country to get a group of men together and watch this event as a group of men. We have to get together as men to become better followers of Christ, better husbands, dads, even just better friends and workers. And the website is inthezone.org/gameday, inthezone.org/gameday. We'll put the link to this event on our website. You can check it out there, and grateful for you, Coach, to be a part of that. And it's going to help people, because men, we need to get together and come together as the leaders in our faith. Let me ask you this, Coach, because I always like asking you this question, and all of our guests, and the answer is always different because of where you are in different seasons of your life. And now you're the Liberty head football coach. So what is God teaching you right now that maybe he wasn't teaching you a year ago or 2 years ago? What are you learning from the Lord right now?
Yeah, I've got two words that keep coming up for me that he's just working on me about, and that is abide and enough. And my abiding in Him, who is the strength, He is the source, He is the power source, and when I'm plugged into Him daily, there's just increasing joy and peace and hope. Even now, that doesn't mean my days are all good. And that doesn't mean I mean, when you're coaching a football program, there's something bad typically every day that happens, but man, it just doesn't steal the joy, because if I'm truly abiding in Him, you see things from a different perspective. And then in 2019, my one word is that I wrote in my journal for this year was enough, and He is enough, and because He is enough, I'm enough, and my standing in Him never changes. And I don't understand that, because in my mind, I want my actions to always measure up to that standing, and they don't. And so you can either believe the lies of the enemy when that happens, but my standing hasn't changed, because I can never be good enough on my best day, and I can never be bad enough on my worst day to lose my standing. And so He is enough, and because of that, I have in me what is enough for whatever comes my way.
Hugh Freeze, the Liberty head football coach. We appreciate your time here, Coach, and just always wishing you nothing but the best. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be looking for you on the 30th for Game Day 2019. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jason.
And many thanks to Hugh Freeze, the Liberty head football coach, for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Keep an eye on Liberty in 2019. See how that football team comes together under the tutelage and the coaching of Hugh Freeze. Hugh will be a part of the Game Day 2019 simulcast event that'll be in churches across the country. Your church can sign up, get the men together for an opportunity to hear some great teaching and speakers. Guys like Tony Evans, Tony Dungy, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty, Lee Corso, Bobby Bowden, Ted DiBiase, and Coach Hugh Freeze as well. For more information for that Saturday, March 30th event, you can go to inthezone.org/gameday. inthezone.org/gameday, or you can call 1-888-235-7948. It's a great event for the men at your church, maybe for a small group, or maybe you have a men's disciple group that gets together. This is a really cool event to intersect the world of faith and sports, a universal language that so many speak, including Game Day 2019. So check that out. You can also give Coach Hugh Freeze a follow on Twitter. That's his handle, @Coach Hugh Freeze. And he's a good inspiration on Twitter. He shares a lot of scripture, and we'll keep you up to date on the day-to-day operations at Liberty and their football program. Many thanks to Hugh for joining us. Thanks to you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Want to again steer you to sportspectrum.com. That's our website, sportspectrum.com. Bookmark that site. Make sure you're going back every single day. We have daily content, updated articles, and a daily devotional every morning at 6 a.m. Eastern. You can also check out our Sports Spectrum magazine and subscribe right there on the website at sportspectrum.com. It's $18 for an entire year, and it gets you our quarterly magazine. It's a great magazine. You'll love it. You'll want to read it and then share it with others. I promise that. sportspectrum.com, and subscribe to the magazine today. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Have a great rest of your day.